Hola, Español 2. I hope everyone's doing well. If you look at your syllabus, on the week of 11-12, before our Thanksgiving break, this is where I'm going to start. I'm going to start on page 354, Gramática. And one thing that I wanted to mention before we start on this is, I don't know if you all have seen, sometimes as a teacher I assume when I shouldn't assume, but in the back of your book, in the back of it, starting on page 476, 476, you will see, actually it starts in 474, you will see where it talks about definite articles, where it talks about indefinite articles, about pronouns, and then if we turn the page, let's see, we turn the page here, about adjectives, so on and so forth. And so these pages in the back of your book are so helpful. This page right here, it's page 478, 478, is going to be very helpful for what we're going to be doing today. And the reason that I'm going over last week's, well, the week before Thanksgiving, the last time we had class, is because I feel that sometimes in a little bit less than an hour, it's not enough time to go over everything as clearly as I'd like to. Explain it, and when I'm videotaping it, I'm able to go a little slower. So, and the good thing about videotaping is that, or recording it, is that you're able to rewind it or fast forward as many times as you want. So let's get started. Again, in página 354, we're going to be learning, it says here, the preterite. What does preterite mean? Basically means the past tense of AR verbs. And so if we look, remember in the back of your book, if we look at this section, remember that infinitive verbs end in what? AR, ER, and IR. And they mean to study. Well, this word right here means to study, to run, to write. Now, in a sentence, in Spanish, you have to conjugate it. Depending on if you say, I study, yo estudio. It's in the present, I study. Tú estudias, you study. That didn't happen in the past. It's in the present, you study. Usted, formal. Él or ella estudia. Nosotros, we. And this is you, formal. He studies, she studies. We study. Nosotros estudiamos. This is, oh my goodness, I need to sneeze. I'm sorry. There. Okay, so this is estudiáis. And if you look how it's light yellow, that's because we don't really use this form right here. But they still want you to know about it. You know, they still want you to know how it's said. but that's why in our homework we rarely use it. So, so they still want you to know. That's why they include it. And then estudian. Ustedes. It could be formal or just a big group of people. You all study. Ellos estudian. Ellos is male. They study, as in they, the males. Or remember, it can be used ellos, for example, a group of males and females. Or it could be ellas estudian, a group of only females. Okay, so so for estudiar, the ones that end in AR, this is how you would conjugate them. For correr, the ones that end in ER, this is how you would conjugate them in the present tense. And for IR, this is how you would conjugate them in the present tense. Now, right next to it is preterite tense, which means what? Past. So for the AR words, this is how you would conjugate them, and so on and so forth. For correr, for escribir, to write. Okay? So, and that again is on page 478. Okay, so let's start reading this. It says, to talk about actions that were completed in the past, you use the preterite tense. So basically, to talk about actions that happened in the past, you use the past tense, preterite tense. To form the preterite tense, to make a sentence of a regular AR verb. So to make a sentence, to write down a sentence using this word right here, you have to conjugate it, right? So to form the preterite tense of a regular AR verb, add the preterite endings. So remember that we take out the AR, and then if it's I bought, if you're using yo compré, I bought, you take out the AR, and then you add the what? If it's I bought, you would add the E. So it says, to form the preterite tense of a regular AR verb, add the preterite endings. What are the preterite endings? They're in blue. So these are the preterite endings. Haste, o, amos, hastéis. Remember, we're not using that one, but they still want you to know. And aron. So, it says here, again, I'm going to read it again. To form the preterite tense of a regular AR verb, which is one like this, add the preterite endings. Now we know what they are. They're these right here. To the stem, which is, this is the stem right here. The AR, this right here. So you add the preterite ending, the stem is this right here. This right here. Without the E, that right there. So you add them to the stem of the verb. Here are the preterite forms of comprar. So you would add the E to compré. And so let me get, that way you can, let me see right here. See how they end in R? Right there, and then they add the preterite endings. Okay, so in the bottom right here it says, notice the accent marks on the endings e and O. So right here on E and O, you see the accent marks. The nosotros form is the same. So right here, the nosotros form is the same in the present and preterite tenses. So what does that mean? Well, if you look at your chart in the back of your book, over here, and you look at the nosotros form, remember, nosotros estudiamos, we study. In the present tense, it's amos, it ends in amos. Well, in the preterite tense, it also ends in amos. It's the same. So it says, the nosotros form is the same in the present and preterite tenses. You will need to look for other context clues. What does that mean? Well, in the sentence, they will show you clues. That way you can know whether they're using the nosotros form in present or past. So you will need to look for other context clues to tell which tense is intended. Okay, so that's the end of this video for the Gramática on page 354.